serious way in 5, 4, 3, something like that. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, Patrick Baird from the GarageBand Guide. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, Pete. Thank you very much for having me. How are you, mate?
I'm going exceptionally well. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. We've got about a 2 month between your appearances. We don't want too much Patrick, but we're getting to the point where people were saying we need some Patrick in our lives here on GarageBand Weekly. If it is your first time here, this is our show all about GarageBand. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. But before we kick off, for the 2% of people watching that may not know who you are and what you do, who are you? What do you do?
I'm Patrick from the GarageBandGuide.com. Yeah, I run a website that teaches you how to use GarageBand on your Mac or your iPad.
Very good. See, you're always so much more succinct than me. People ask me what I do, and I'm just like, so what I do here is, I don't know. Wow. So what we've got coming up on the show, we're going to talk about a very cool app that's on sale. We're going to try and convince Patrick why he should buy it. We're going to be talking about iOS versus Mac cameras. Why are Mac webcams so shite, Patrick? We'll have to be discussing that. We've got a tip of the week about fixing your MIDI piano in GarageBand Mac. I know people say, Pete, you always talk about iOS. We've got a Mac tip for you today from our friend Patrick. And we've got a bunch of news and notes. And why don't we kick off with that? Because Apple have their on again, off again announcement that they're going to have in March is on again, apparently.
For now,
March,
yes.
For now. It's happening sort of maybe a bit. So it is happening, and apparently the word is it's March 23rd, and there's a bunch of different products that are coming out. So because there's so many of them, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw them out there, and Patrick's going to tell us, is he excited or not, and will he buy any of these things, and are they relevant to anyone using GarageBand? So the first one, AirTags, are these even relevant to our music creators, and are they coming?
I don't know if it's relevant. I've had tiles previously in the past, which are very, very useful if you're an idiot like me who just can't find his keys ever. And I know it's the same kind of thing, but kind of the Apple way. So I think in terms of music production, no. But in terms of usefulness, I think it depends how much they're going to charge for them, really, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I'm trying to think of a use case of something that I would need in my music creation, and the only thing I could come is like my audio interface. Maybe if I'm carrying my iRig around and I need to make sure I don't lose it, then I'm like, if I'm losing entire giant audio interface, anyway, there's bigger problems than that. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting because we're all locked into our Find My iPhones and Macs and tablets now. So if my keys have a Find My, and I can just say, "Where are my keys? Where did my child put them this time?" Then that could be a good thing. AirPods. Are you an AirPods guy?
No,
I sadly am. No. I bought these amazing devices for like $400 Australian, the AirPods Pro. The microphone on these is perhaps the worst microphone I've ever heard on any device. Like my $20 JBL headphones, 3 times better microphone. The audio quality, fine. But there is AirPods 3 that are coming out. I mean, Bluetooth headphones, are they even relevant for GarageBand creating at all?
For music consumption, yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people now have switched to Bluetooth for just listening to music. But for creation, you'll know as well as I do, it's close to useless for recording or tracking on any kind of device. AirPods 3, I think what I've seen the design, or what is perhaps the design that's been leaked, it's got a slightly shorter stem.
They're slightly shorter.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'll pass.
So we're not excited yet. I thought we'd get those. iPad Pro. So the iPad Pro 2021 is rumored. It's rumored to have the A14X, which you may know is the very similar. It's basically the mobile version of the M1, and they're basically saying that this is going to be like an M1 in an iPad Pro format. Do you think it's coming? Are you excited? Will you consider one?
Maybe, actually. I've still got a 2018 iPad Pro, which is still great. It still runs fine. It's still really powerful. I know you've got the 2020 iPad Pro model, haven't you? Yes. So, I mean, it depends how much faster this new chip is, really, as to whether or not you want to consider it. In terms of features, I don't think they're doing anything to the design of it, from what I've seen, apart from maybe upgrading the screen to, is it micro LED?
Micro LCD or mini or something, something technical, but yeah.
So the screen's supposed to be better. I don't know who cares about cameras on an iPad, really, but apparently the cameras are going to be slightly better. So yeah, it'll depend on how much more performance you're going to get from that new chip as to whether or not I'll even really be majorly interested in it. What about you? Are you would you upgrade a year later, do you think, or?
Yeah, I would skip this. I'm very much a 2 to 3 generation skipper. So, in fact, with my last iPad, I went from the iPad Air 2. I then picked up a secondhand iPad Pro Gen 1, and then jumped all the way to the fourth gen iPad Pro, the 2020. Yeah. So, yeah, this doesn't really, unless the one thing is for this show and for the channel, if there was something where the A14X was the only chip that would support Pro apps, and we'll maybe talk about that a bit later, but if Logic and Final Cut and things, when they port them across, if they're only able to be run on the A14X on the very latest iPad Pro, which, part of me thinks is a bit of a thing Apple may do if they do go down that route, then maybe I'll be forced to. But right now, no, it won't be much different. I don't think they'll even go up from the 6 gigabytes of RAM. If there's 8 in these, and that's going to have it. But I haven't even like 6 gigabytes of RAM for running GarageBand and even running Cubasis or Aurea and all the effects and all the plugins. I haven't had an optimizing performance in like a year. So
wow.
Yeah, I know. It's a whole new brave frontier of no optimizing performance. And I hate that because I've always said to people, it's not about the gear. You don't have to buy all the latest and greatest. And then I bought the latest and greatest and went, wow, sometimes it is about the gear.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. We better move on because I'll get on a rant. So the regular iPad. Now the 8th generation iPad was actually a big step up from the 7th gen. The regular one, that one was actually quite good with the A12 processor. The 9th gen, they're rumoring with an A13 and not much else to change. Excited about that?
I mean, it's just a refresh of the base iPad. I think people really underestimate how powerful the base iPads are, and I think if this one's going to be more powerful again, it's not going to be a bad thing. Is it something to be excited about? I don't know. It does have a headphone jack on it, though, so, I bet the 2021 Pro doesn't.
No, it absolutely won't. And it is a good thing. So my daughter actually saved up her Christmas money and bought the 8th gen iPad. And it's great. It flies along. And I think you're right. People genuinely unless you got a Pro or an Air, you're out of luck. No, for running, like, she edits in LumaFusion, she creates in GarageBand. And again, I haven't seen an optimizing performance or anything on that. And I think that A12 chip, if it's going to be the A13, in the new one, it's going to fly along. Like, think about a few years ago, that's what the Pros were running. So it's at the point now where the newer Airs are what the Pros were 2 years ago, and the newer iPads are what the Pros were 4 years ago. So if you're on a budget, I think you can do much worse than that. So I'd be waiting. If you're out to buy an iPad, I would wait because something's coming. They're going to put something out.
Don't buy one now. Jeez, that would be the worst decision you could possibly make. Would be don't buy an iPad now. Just wait a month.
Do not. Exactly right. iPad Mini, apparently the 6th generation iPad Mini. Now, I got in a bit of trouble last week because I said, who in their right mind would use an iPad Mini these days? Because I don't rate them. And then I got a little bit of hate mail from people saying, I love my iPad Mini. It's the perfect form factor. It just goes in my bag and it's the right balance of size. What say you, Patrick?
Get back on your fence, Pete. I've never used one. I mean, it's quite a good middle ground, I think, in terms of kind of cost and performance, depending on what they're going to do with it. I've seen reports that they're going to have, or a possibility they might have, like the iPad Pro model currently, but shrunk down to an iPad mini size, as opposed to like the standard iPad design in a kind of smaller size. So it'll be interesting to see what actually they do with it. I don't think personally I would be that interested in it, though. I think if you have an iPhone and an iPad, there's no need to have that kind of middle ground. I don't think, for me anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's all I was really saying is that my phone is now 6.1 inches and the bigger one is 6.7 and your iPad mini is 7.9. So you're literally down to just over an inch difference in the screen size. And different form factor. You got the 4x3 versus the whatever these are now, not 16x9, like 22 by 3.5. I don't know, but I don't see a lot of the use. And for our friend here, Corey, that just bought an iPad Air 4, I think you're safest there because I don't see a new iPad Air coming out this year at all, if not till like very late this year. So I think the iPad Air is probably the best. If you're going to buy an iPad right now, the iPad Air 4 is the best purchase because it's the least likely to get an upgrade anytime soon.
And they're great as well.
And they fly along. Yeah, that's again, they give the Pros a run for their money. Absolutely. There's a couple more weird things here, which I don't think we need to touch on. Apple TV. Are you an Apple TV user, Patrick?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all, unfortunately.
So there may be a new one. They want to do gaming on the Apple TV, and I'm like, I think the gaming's saturated. I don't know that anyone's buying an Apple TV as their console instead of an Xbox or a
It depends if you've got an Apple Arcade
True.
subscription, but I don't have one. I don't know anybody who does have one. So yeah.
No, I don't think. Jade Star, I think maybe you have or had one. Maybe she can tell us in the chat if it's worthwhile considering. And the last one that's being rumored. Now, I got the iPhone 12, and I must admit I've not touched MagSafe at all since I bought this, but MagSafe is the clip-on everything, so you can clip on your chargers, your cases, your wallets, your things. I haven't done it, but there is a rumor, and this may switch me around because I'm always running out of battery. Like even with a brand new iPhone 12, I don't last the day if I'm doing actual work on this. So this is a new case that's been rumored that is also a battery that will just clip onto the back of your phone using MagSafe. So that's something that I could actually see myself getting excited about. The problem is, it's probably going to be $170. So,
yeah, of course, definitely, almost certainly.
Almost certainly. So I don't know if I'll be that excited by it, but having power on the go, I don't know. How do you go? Are you constantly playing the charger and the battery? I mean, maybe not at the moment, but when you're mobile, you're getting through it.
I mean, I probably use my phone more now because I'm stuck in the house all day than I do when I'm like outside doing a proper job, you know. But not really. I mean, I've still got a 10s Max. The battery life is still like 94% on it, like when your battery health. And I can definitely go a full day, kind of waking up at 8 and then kind of maybe sticking it on charge at about 10:30, 11 at night, and it still does the full day, no problem at all. No.
Okay, well, that's just me. I'm doing something wrong.
What are you doing on your phone? You're editing all your videos, aren't you?
I'm editing all my videos, I think that's it. When I look at my battery usage, it's LumaFusion, a lot of it. So, I guess, editing 1080p or 4K video on a thing that's supposed to make phone calls, I probably should expect that I'm going to drain some battery on that. We have some love here. So, Joey Helpish is an Apple Arcade fanboy. There you go. Okay. And is excited for a new Apple TV. So, again, I'll get in trouble. Every week where I say, how unexciting is this news, there's going to be someone else. You think I'd learned by now that there'll be someone that's going to be excited by it. A couple more stories and then we'll get into our feature topic because I know that's an interesting one that I'm keen to chat about. So the M1 SSD, apparently there was rumors and there was, rigmarole. No, that's the wrong word. There was a lot of talk about them eating themselves, about them having so many read and write cycles that everyone's fearful that they're not going to last and it's all going to fail. I think you've got some updates on this, Patrick. Should everyone crack each other's heads open and feast on the goo inside?
Yeah, definitely don't do that. I don't know if I have the definitive proof that it isn't real. I did read somewhere, which I can't think of off the top of my head, of course, because we're live, and that would be far.
Having sources, man.
But there was some. It had been over exaggerated, or there wasn't as many people having these issues as was originally thought. So what the issue was, from what I saw, a lot of the kind of 8 gigabyte RAM models were using the SSD when they were getting to the point where they didn't have any RAM left, which is something that computers kind of do anyway. Yeah. But I don't know if it was a case where people were feeling like maybe they were pushing the computers, the M1 8 gigabyte RAM models too much. They were pushing them too far, trying to do too many pro things on them, and then it was eating into the SSD. But it was only kind of a handful of people that seemed to really have serious issues with this. And as far as I'm aware, it isn't as widespread a problem as originally thought. There is a test you can do. So if you have an M1 Mac, I think you have to dive into Terminal though, which is the most mind-numbingly boring thing you can possibly do on a Mac. But you can dive into this and it will show you kind of a readout of what your SSD health is at. We could try and find that and put that in your show notes, Pete, maybe. If you want.
Yes. I'll endeavour to do that. I always promise to put things in the show notes and then don't. But either you might have to do some Googling or I will get it in the show notes. But from what I've seen, it's basically been overblown. And I think it was Rene Ritchie. I read something that he did, and I do trust him with this sort of stuff. And he's basically said, don't go running around and jumping at shadows when it comes to this stuff, because more often than not, funnily enough, the internet sometimes blows things out of proportion, Patrick.
Really?
Are you aware of that?
The internet?
Yeah. The internet. People on the internet just go crazy at the slightest little thing and they're off. And
I find that hard to believe.
Armageddon.
Everybody's so level-headed on here. What?
Right. I know. Yeah. All right. So yeah, a lot of news, a lot of interesting things coming out, but we want to hear from you. So if you've got any comments on this and you're here live on the chat, or if you're on the replay, because we do love you just as much, then you can leave your comments down below. And there's also links down there to all sorts of things, including how to go and check out Patrick at the GarageBand
Come and check me out. Yeah.
Guide.
The GarageBand, the GarageBand guys.
GarageBand guys. I think someone was. Whoever was telling me this, claim it in the chat if you're here. But someone said that we should all just get a moratorium and say it's G-band. Like it's just G-band, and everyone just calls it G-band from now on. I wonder if that could we get that happening? Do you think if we had this movement?
Sounds a lot to me like you're admitting defeat there, Pete. To be honest with you.
Yeah, like I can no longer battle up against the forces of GarageBand, so we're gonna sign a truce and make it G-band.
I was devastated when I saw Doug from the sound test room did a GarageBand tutorial last week, and he said in his video that because Apple made it and they call it GarageBand, it should be called GarageBand, and nearly put my fist through my computer, Pete. So disappointed.
Surely you would have thought that you'd had an ally in Doug.
I know.
That's crazy. And it was Jade Starr who said G-band. So Jade, there you go. You can claim. I think you need to start a movement that it's going to be G-band. Absolutely. Or Mark's got an idea for a rant. Maybe we'll do a double rant today. The ridiculous exchange prices Apple gives you. Well, since we'll be bagging Apple about the crap cameras, maybe we can bag them about the crap trade-in prices on here as well.
Why not?
There you go. You've got the better half of the sound test room in here, Joe, saying that she heard that too. Yeah, Joe, go influence him. As much as I love GarageBand, someone else got to be on Team GarageBand, and if it's not,
what do you mean someone's got to be on the?
Someone apart from you has to say it wrong.
Just me then.
Let's talk about our feature topic today. As you may have seen, sharing your music, so getting your music out there. Now, full disclosure right up front, this channel is sponsored by DistroKid. I do a show every week where DistroKid are a sponsor of that, so put that out there on Front Street. I'm pretty sure, Patrick, you've done sponsored videos for distributors in the past, and so we just wanted to make that clear. But why don't we just talk through this? Because the reason I wanted to talk about this is that you mentioned it, and I've seen it around the place. SoundCloud. What have they done? How are they shaking and disrupting the streaming and the distribution industry?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they've shaken up the whole industry, but certainly they've changed the way that they distribute royalties from within their platform. So is it fan-powered royalties that they've called it? Something like that. So
something like that.
Essentially, the kind of gist is that if you, Pete Johns, had a SoundCloud Pro Unlimited account and hosted your music on SoundCloud, and I had a SoundCloud Pro Unlimited account and listened to music on SoundCloud, but for the duration of a month only listened to you would get the full amount of money from my SoundCloud Pro Unlimited payment for that month. Yes. If I was to listen to 50% you and 50%, who can I think of? Alex Bacchus, for example. Nice. You would get half, and I say you would get half, and he would get half. That's after SoundCloud take their cut, which is reported to be 45%, which is a bit crazy. However, I think the model's really good, and I think if that model was spread throughout the whole kind of streaming platform industry, so if Spotify were to start doing things that way, for example, the whole kind of situation might be a lot fairer, and a lot of people who are kind of just getting a flat rate, or maybe perhaps less than some bigger artists might get paid a bit more almost directly from their fans, if that makes sense. Yeah. I was reading somewhere that so Deezer and Spotify, there was a report done that 10% of all revenues from Spotify and Deezer go to just 10 artists.
Yep.
Which seems a bit crazy, you know. It doesn't really seem particularly fair. And I think SoundCloud are trying to introduce something that seems a bit more fair. It's just whether or not it'll actually be as big as an impact as maybe they think it will. If that makes sense.
It does, and yeah, it's interesting because, like most things, when these sort of things happen, the independent artists, we're all quite interested. We're all looking at this, going, "Hey, that's something that is going to be different." Because I don't think many people realize. I probably didn't realize it to the extent that I should have, given what my job is. That yeah, it's really not based on that. So if someone is my fan and they listen to nothing but Pete John's music, that does not mean that their $10 Spotify subscription all goes to me. Well,
Exactly.
seven or $6 or $5 of it goes to me. It means it just they're still supporting the more popular artists that are getting more streams, because it all comes down to that slice of the pie. And if you are Jay-Z, or if you are Drake and you're getting a 20% slice of the pie, then you're getting 20% whether I love or hate your music as a consumer. So the fan powered royalties thing, it sounds really good and it sounds like a step in the right direction. Interestingly, and I don't know if any have come out yet, but there's been murmurings that, of course, the labels are not loving this, and that if places like Spotify and Apple Music and other places start pushing this direction, and then if you're using DistroKid or Ditto or TuneCore, CD Baby, then you're going to start getting this fan power royalties through them as well. That the labels would be like, excuse me, we've got all these artists that are banking on things being the way they were. So it may then become people who are benefiting from it now that love it the way it is, versus people who want to see change, which is more the independent artists. And it'll be interesting to see who kind of comes out on top there.
The problem with all that is that who solely consumes music via Spotify? Not many people. I did a poll on YouTube about 4 days ago. 1,000 people picked. I said, well, how do you stream music? And the options were Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, SoundCloud, or other. And out of all of that, 1,000 people voted, 5% listened to music via SoundCloud. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great idea, but and you're exactly right that I think labels might be kind of thinking, oh no, what if other platforms want to adopt this model? But then it doesn't really look like at the minute like they're going to have to, really, unless SoundCloud can really draw people across to their platform, which I think is just going to be quite a tough thing to do, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. And as Tom Rochelle says here, the thing about SoundCloud is you need to be a pro member and or distribution with SoundCloud, so it won't help most people. Yeah, and I don't know, it's something about the fact. And SoundCloud, hey, if you want to come and sponsor the channel, maybe I'll change my mind. No, but if every time I go to SoundCloud, it seems that it's popping up and it's telling me to do different things. I can't remember the last time I just went to SoundCloud and played a song, and it was like it used to be, where you could just play songs. Now it's either going to play me an ad, or it's going to pop up and say, you need a pro subscription. You've nearly run out of room. Why don't you distribute with us? So I don't know. It's good and it has its place, but like you say, if 5%, and I think that's probably indicative of the industry, that 5%. I think there's some genres of music where perhaps SoundCloud is more popular and there's more people using it for the stuff that I listen to. And
absolutely not,
it's kind of the same as, I know a lot of people distribute using Bandcamp and other platforms, which I think are cool, and I think work well. Yeah. But the problem is your average punter, if they've got a Spotify subscription or an Apple Music subscription or a YouTube Music subscription, that's where they want your music to be. They don't want to go, as much as they love you, as much as people think that Wire Drawn is the best rock band ever to make music, they're not necessarily going to go, well, I'll go to Bandcamp or there. They want to just go,
my monthly reports, they definitely don't think that, Pete. I think it's interesting, and a good model you can do at the minute is you can use, I don't think anybody is realistically thinking they're going to release their music on Spotify and Apple Music and make money that way. That you're not, unless you're Taylor Swift or Kanye West, you're not going to do that, I don't think. But Spotify and Apple Music and etc. are great platforms for discovery, and then you can use a platform like Bandcamp to bring your kind of hardcore fans across and sell them merch or kind of extra versions of your album and stuff. I don't know where SoundCloud fits into that.
Yeah.
To be honest,
they seem to be trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be everything to everyone, and I think, as you and I know, if you try and please everyone, you can often end up pleasing no one.
Get back on that. Don't get back on that fence, Pete. Get back on that fence. Yeah,
being controversial at the moment, aren't I? What else can I say that I hate that people love and destroy people?
Well, you can say what you're saying to me before the stream, or maybe we shouldn't talk about. Okay, never mind.
I can't even remember what it was now, but now I'm scared. Oh yeah, now do. Now everyone's going, what were they talking about before the stream?
I'll never tell.
Infarction has a good point here. So I think He's just said in one sentence what we took 5 minutes to say. But the royalties version of the popular vote versus the electoral college system, different systems produce different winners, exactly. And the current winners with power and influence will always oppose change. Yes, I think that's very well said.
That's a good way to put it. Good way to put it.
Right? Exactly.
You could have commented that 10 minutes ago and we could have saved ourselves a lot of time here. Come on.
God, we've got to fill an hour of content with something, Patrick. All right, let's rant, shall we? So I wanted to talk about this because it came up a couple of times on some videos and some things I was reading this week, and it is about the fact that Mac, for all its qualities and for everything that it pushes, it still has a 720p camera in the lid of its laptops. Now, some of this is to do with the fact that a laptop lid is very thin, and Apple are absolutely obsessed with thinness. I remember when the new iPad came out and they're like, it's 1.1 millimeter thinner, and we've gone to all this effort. We've removed your headphone jack, but we've gone to all this effort to make it 0.1 millimeter thinner. And I think the same can be said for the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro at the moment. They're so obsessed with thinness. And I would say that if you could get like a nice 1080p, like 4K or even 1080p camera as your camera in your MacBook, where a lot of people doing a lot of Zooming and Skyping and messaging at the moment, that people would sacrifice that millimeter or two to actually have the decent camera. What say you? Do you think I'm just a crazy old man crack that they're doing the right thing here, or should they step it up?
Old man yells at cloud. No, I have a sneaking suspicion. I have no basis, no kind of thing of fact to base this on, whatever. But the new M1 MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros, they're exactly the same form factor and kind of bodies as the previous version. I think they just had them left, or they already had those particular models in. Exactly, they had those parts already in production, or they had them sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So they obviously just took the Intel guts out and put the M1 guts in and sold them as the new M1 machines without actually changing any of the hardware. And I think that's maybe why. I mean, they did something to the camera. It's still a 720p camera, but they did some weird Apple mumbo jumbo
signal
about
processing with neural engines and so. I don't know. They confuse me.
Exactly. But it's the same hardware. I think that maybe is all it is. It's just that's what they had left. It was cost efficient for them to keep the same machines, but take out the guts and replace it with an M1 chip, and then you know, and they're actually pretty good machines apart from the cameras. It'll be interesting to see the next models that come out, whether or not they've actually, because it's supposed to be an actual redesign of, is it the 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pros that are coming sometime soon, and a new iMac. It'll be interesting to see if they've actually done something to update the camera systems on these new machines. Yeah, they bloody better, to be fair.
Well, yeah,
they have to, surely.
The argument you could make is, people that do what we do aren't going to be using the built-in cameras on their webcams, but I don't think it's really for us. I think it's for creators that are just getting started. Like if you're trying to do something and you're trying to share information, or maybe you're just making some basic videos for YouTube to support the content or the music you're creating, just being able to do that, the built-in mics are getting better and better, but again, they're still not quite up there with the iPhones and the iPads. These have amazing mics, the newer ones, but for all things Apple do, with all the focus on having stereo sound and these studio quality microphones on their gear, and then they just throw you a fuzzy 720p webcam on top. And you have to go out and get yourself a Logitech C920 or something so that you can actually have decent quality video to go along with it. I just think that they do need to step up their game, and even in the iMac. So the other thing rumored is a new iMac. So hopefully they just develop one really nice thin. I mean, there's got to be teams working on a nice thin 4K camera with nice decent amount of depth perception in there. But again, because there's the reason why SLR lenses are like that, because you cannot get a camera in a flat lens, and it's why I still have this stupid bump at the end of my phone. Because
and I bet that camera's great.
It is.
That camera is fantastic. Yeah.
It's an amazing and even the front-facing camera. This is like a 4K front-facing camera in a notch in a phone. I don't know. I don't own a MacBook, but it still annoys me when I see people going, "Oh, it's perfect except for this camera." So Mark gave us an opportunity for a double rant. I don't think we've ever had a double rant here. Now I've never traded in an Apple device because I'm pretty new to Apple device world, and I've never traded in for the exact reason that I think when I bought this iPhone 12, I think I would get a $200 trade-in for my iPhone 10s.
Yeah.
And if I sold that same 10s on eBay, I'd probably get around $600 or $700 or $800 for it. So why are Apple giving such crappy trade-ins on your gear? And have you or would you ever trade in an Apple device?
Because they can. I think obviously there must be a market for it, otherwise they would offer you more money, I think. I've never traded in anything secondhand to Apple. I don't think I would, simply because the prices are dreadful that they offer. So I obviously, when I got this new M1 Mac Mini, I've still got my old 2015 iMac, and Apple would give me £350 for it. You're all right, thanks. eBay I could get, if I want to go through the hassle of selling it on eBay, it would be kind of £800, £900. So there's no way. And it's not even as if they give you money; it's trade-in value on a gift card, essentially, isn't it? So it's a funny one. I don't know why anyone would trust me.
No. Well, there you go. See, now Patrick can offend people because now everyone that has traded one in, remember, it was Patrick that said, I quote, "I don't know why anyone would." So you can be in trouble in the comments this week. Oh no! And look, I honestly, I think it's the cash converter syndrome. It's the lazy tax. It's the fact that it's so much easier to just take something and someone else do all the effort. Because if you're trying to sell something on Gumtree or on eBay or on Facebook, it is an effort. You know, you have to deal with people. They're messaging you. You have to take photos. You have to deal with tire kickers that are saying, "Oh, what's that? £700? How about 50?" And you come, what planet are you on, sunshine? So I think there's a lot of merit to that. That if you were literally just going to shove it in a cupboard and forget about it and just watch it lose value, and you could still get, I mean, to play devil's advocate, you could still get $200 or £200 out of it, then maybe. But at that point, you might as well just be donating it to someone or giving it to a friend that doesn't have one, or something better that's going to have more value than that, rather than giving it back to Apple so that they can refurbish it and then sell it off for 3 times as much to someone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
But again, let us know what you think. If you have traded one in, why did you do it? And what would you?
Why did you?
Why did you do it? What have we got here? iPad 2018, 128 gig for a new iPad Air, $185 Canadian. So there you go. So that's about a third of what you'd actually pay for that device. So,
I mean, I'll give you that for it if you want. Let me know your address, Mark. I'll gladly pay you that if you want.
There's got to be a market for it, doesn't there? There's got to be something where you can just jump in and just slightly. I've always thought that if I stood outside of Cashies and anytime someone walked in there with something that looked decent, I'd say, "Tell me what price they give you, and I'll give you 20% more." It's got to be a massive market for that. But which a lot of folks.
I can see the headlines tomorrow. Strange man arrested outside Adelaide Cashies.
Oh mate, it wouldn't be the first time that a strange man was arrested outside of Cashies just quietly. Alrighty, a lot of folks talking about SoundCloud, and I think this is one of the problems that SoundCloud has, due to the trolling and the sketchy messages.
Bots are a big problem, as well.
Oh, they're massive, and the amount of people that have come to me and said, "Pete, I'm so excited. I just had this producer message me on SoundCloud and tell me that my song's amazing, and they want to get me in front of all these artist labels, and that they're going to get me a big record deal." And I have to just break their little hearts and say, that is a troll and or bot. Everyone gets that message, and I'm really sorry, but you're probably not that special. And it feels terrible. But the amount of trolling that goes on there, and it's out of control in terms of every time you release something, there's someone in there like, "Firebeat, brah, DM me and I'll get you set up." And it's like, really? You got to stop people. So I don't know. Use at your own risk, I guess, which is, again, why I like slaps.com, like DistroKid's sharing platform, because it's just people. You have to sign up for an account. I haven't seen a single bot on there, and I haven't seen anyone on there try. There's a bit of the sub for sub stuff, but that happens absolutely everywhere. But there's none of the whole, I'm going to make you a star, kid. It doesn't happen.
It's SoundCloud without the shite, really, isn't it? Yeah.
So sorry, SoundCloud. Maybe I won't get that email from SoundCloud offering a sponsorship anytime soon.
We'll just pay you to stop.
Yeah, please, Pete, just stop talking. So in terms of that, so we sort of went off on a bit of a wee tangent there from the rant, from the feature topic to the rant of the week. Anything else on music distribution? So we kind of talked about what you do. What do you do right now, and what would you reckon? If someone came to you and said, Patrick, I want to get my music distributed. Do I distribute with someone like DistroKid? Do I use Bandcamp? You kind of alluded to it before, but what would be your strategy for someone who wanted to share their music online?
Yeah, I mean, I think you still can't get a better deal than what DistroKid offer. I have looked in and been approached by other distributors recently, and you couldn't, in doing what we do in good faith, sit and try and recommend another platform, because you're just not going to get as good value for money as you do for DistroKid if you are just getting started. 20 quid or $20, and then you can release as much as you want or as little as you want for a year. Yeah, and it'll get you on all of the major streaming platforms that you need to be on. As I said earlier, I think streaming platforms are a great way to kind of showcase yourself and advertise your music, and then you can build a fan base and then take some of the kind of core, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of, I don't want to say crazy fans, but the fans that are most into you over to a platform.
Fans.
True fan. There you go. Your true fans over to somewhere like Bandcamp, where you can offer them something extra in terms of merch or an extra kind of release or tracks that you haven't released on Spotify and things like that. That seems to be quite a good model, I think, and it's not really going to cost you very much. You're not going to be putting in too much and kind of being incredibly depressed on the amount that you're going to get out, certainly when it comes to streaming revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must admit that there's a lot of people that I've done exactly that for, that I'll listen to their music because it's on Spotify or it's on YouTube Music or it's on Apple, because it's accessible. And then when I like it and when I know the person, and that's where I think a lot of this, especially independent music production, we've got the benefit now that you've got Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and love it or hate social media, you kind of need it to reach out to people and to actually find those true fans and the people that are going to dig your music. And you've seen it as much as I have, that on places like the GarageBand Users Facebook group, people have shared stuff on there about how they've created the music, and they've shared some tips and they've shared ideas, and then you go and listen to their music because you're like, hey, I want to see how they actually put this together and what it sounds like. And then you're like, wait, this is awesome. I want to support this person. So, $10 on Bandcamp. Yeah, of course, Absolutely. I'll buy that album. And I think that's a really good way of going from that progression, like exactly as you say, to have those two different ways. And it's no different to something like Patreon for YouTube creators. You put your stuff out on YouTube, people can stream it for free. Yes, you get a cut of the advertising that's on that YouTube video, but then if you want to do something else, you'd go to something like Patreon to provide that next level of stuff for people to have, that are those true fans that want to be part of the community and part of like a smaller, closer knit thing. And I think that's what Bandcamp or a service like that can offer as well. So there you go. Bandcamp, you can reach out to Patrick and I for sponsorship. SoundCloud, maybe they won't.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
And Tom Rochelle here has got a good point too. He says, I just prefer YouTube because it's where I usually listen to music, and most artists are on there. Nice to have everything in one place. So, yeah, that's the other thing. For absolutely free, you really can't go past YouTube. Like, you're probably old enough to know, like me, putting your videos online before YouTube existed. No. Putting your videos online before YouTube existed cost a lot of money. Like you would have to actually serve up that video content and have it on your website. And the fact that we have a free platform, not only is it free, but if you then get to a certain level, they pay you to put your videos on their platforms, kind of ridiculous. So don't overlook YouTube. That a lot of successful people are just sticking their stuff on YouTube and Instagram and sharing it out there, and they're developing that. So I think, like most things, there's no right or wrong way. There's just options. And hey, if after our rants here, you're like, actually, I just still want to use SoundCloud, then more power to you. Just good luck with the trolls, and try not to get too excited when Big Boss 79 sends you a message saying, yeah, kid, I'm going to make you a star. Yeah. All right, let's move on. By the way, if you have any, I meant to say this about 40 minutes ago, but if you have any questions, if you have any questions for Patrick and I, you can actually throw them here. Just put the word question in front of your comment. And as I always say, I will make Patrick answer all of the hard ones. So please give him your difficult GarageBand questions, and we'll get on to those. Let's talk tip of the week, shall we? Because you've got You are the tip of the week. So, not to put you on the spot here or anything, but I saw a very cool video of yours during the week. It looks a little bit like this. You've got the YouTube pointing to a thing face going on perfectly in the video thumbnail. MIDI piano fix, so making GarageBand's pianos sound real. What are you talking about here? And what is the tip? Give us enough of the tip to make people go and watch the video without spoiling.
I love that you've got the two videos beneath mine that I stole all the ideas from, so thanks for that, Pete. I'm kidding. So MIDI piano sounds in GarageBand on Mac specifically, it's kind of the same on iPad as well. It sounds a bit crap, really, when you first especially if you're like drawing the notes in, or if you are playing the notes on a controller that doesn't have velocity sensitive keys. It just sounds a bit dead and lifeless. So it's just 3 tips to help for people who perhaps aren't very good pianists like me, to make those kind of piano sound a bit better. So using things like velocity, sustain, and reverb to kind of take a dull, lifeless, stock piano sound to something a bit nicer.
Nice. Well, I will have to watch and rewatch it myself because, I must admit, sometimes I get it right, but sometimes I get a bit lazy with the pianos and with a lot of the MIDI instruments because, like you say, especially if you're programming them in, like particularly, it's really hard to get that natural sound because especially if you quantize the crap out of it and then you've just got it right there on the grid, it doesn't sound that great, especially for a piano sound. And just even playing it in, even using things like autoplay or the loops and things like that, just being able to humanize that stuff a little bit with that and glue it into your mix is something that I find it difficult to do. So there you go.
Same.
If you are like us and lazy, go and watch Patrick's tips. So that's right. I did say I shouldn't say I'm lazy, didn't I? That was one thing we were discussing at the start. I'm like,
I need to go to YouTube and change my title for that video. Are you lazy? Watch this.
Lazy Person's Guide to MIDI. There you go. Absolutely. Very cool. So do check out that tip. The other thing I just wanted to mention, we're doing double ups of everything here today. So we're trying to bring the value. If you're getting value out of this today, don't you love how YouTubers always say value? It's like, oh, I've got so much value out of this video. No,
smash that like button.
Oh, smash, exactly. Smash it, and don't forget to ring the bell. Ding. Need a sound effect for that. Sorry. Now, okay, all the other YouTubers are going to be in my comments.
All right, Casey, nice.
You got a problem? The other thing I wanted to ask you, so I know you get asked about this a lot, the compatibility between GarageBand iOS, GarageBand Mac, and Logic, and how you can actually go from one way but not the other way. So I thought I'll just throw it out here and I'll ask you if you've used this much. But I've found some interesting things with this. A lot of people say, oh, how can I go from GarageBand Mac and transfer it to my iPad or iPhone? You can't. So there is no way to go from Mac back to iOS, except maybe there sort of is. I don't know. But you can actually go from iOS to Mac and it will work. Have you used this much? Have you sent your iOS projects to Mac and have you found anything that works, doesn't work, or advice for folks?
Quite often. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of GarageBand across both platforms is that you can use GarageBand on your iPhone as a sketchpad to get a melody going or a beat going or whatever you want to call it. And then there's a share option that you can share it to Mac and it opens up in GarageBand on Mac with all your tracks and effects and stuff. One thing you need to watch when you do that, though, is if you are using third-party apps via AUV3 or Interapp Audio, if anybody's still doing that, and they're not installed on your Mac, which they likely won't be, then they won't be present. So you might want to, you can merge your tracks on iOS, can't you, to kind of lock them in, and then you want to maybe move them across that way. You can move projects, from Mac to iOS. So there is a specific share option on Mac that you can press that tells you to share project to GarageBand for iOS, and then you can then bounce that across to GarageBand on your iPhone or your iPad, but it only comes across as a single mixed down track, essentially. So anything you do on your Mac, if you have a drum, a bass, a guitar track all done on your Mac, you bounce that across to GarageBand for iOS, it'll appear as a single track, kind of like a mixed down project. But then you can add other tracks to it in iOS and then bounce it back to your Mac, and the whole project will reappear in individual tracks again. So it is a bit limited, especially going from Mac to iOS, but it can be done.
Yeah, and that's what I was actually quite amazed by that. I'm just like, oh, I was wrong. You can actually do a little bit more integration because yeah, if
Yeah.
you share it as that as an iOS project, I thought, oh well, then you're going to have to record that on you can record your additional tracks on iOS, and then you're going to have to send those as stems individually back. And then when I reopened it, as long as it's all on iCloud Drive, that's the key. Make sure you're sharing it on your iCloud Drive. It just said, oh, we found some more tracks that you created in iOS. We're going to add them back to your Mac project now.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty good. So yeah, it is actually able, if you're like me and you do most of your stuff on iOS, you send it over to your Mac and then you do some more stuff there, you want to send it back to iOS. If you use that share to iOS function within GarageBand Mac, it will look like it's just a stereo wave, which it is in your iOS project. But if you want to then add in your Alchemy synth, your whatever else you want to add that you can't do in Mac, it'll then just shimmy those across, as long as you keep in mind, again, if you use third-party plugins, exactly what you said, you'll have to merge down the track before you then go back and open it. Otherwise, you'll get that dreaded, this application is not installed. You can't run this now. It's going to sound like crap. All righty. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I know I get asked it and I see it in the comments of your videos all the time as well. It's just like, how do
Everybody
I share
seems to
between
think you can. I mean, it's there in the share menu on Mac, and everybody seems to think that it's completely impossible. And it's a funny thing. Obviously, Apple just haven't made a big enough deal of it because, like you've said, it is really quite powerful if you have both platforms. So
look out for a video from Patrick and me, probably released on the same day about this very topic, because that's how we seem to roll. We don't compare notes beforehand, but the amount of times that Patrick and I are like, here's a great tip for GarageBand iOS, and then Patrick's like, you bugger, like I was look at my schedule, literally releasing in an hour's time. Like, yeah, it happens, but that's right. Depending whose accent you like better, you can watch one or either or both. It's fine. No, I recommend watching both. I recommend watching everything that Patrick puts out and everything here on this channel. And
I recommend that too.
You can get what a coincidence. There you go. Right, let's move on. So we talked tip of the week, round of the week. Here's our plugin or app of the week. Again, we're going to go a double header here because the first thing I'm going to talk about, and I know I've covered this on the channel a couple of times. I know Jade has. I know many folks have got excited about. Everyone but you, Patrick. Why haven't you shelled out £80 and bought yourself MixBox CS, especially considering it's on sale right now? It's a mere 50 quid for you, or $50 on sale right now to buy MixBox CS. For those that don't know, MixBox CS is kind of a do-it-all and all-in-one. I'll talk about it in a moment, but why don't you let us know, have you experienced it at all? Have you been tempted by it? And do you think that you'll take the plunge?
Definitely tempted by it. I mean, when it was released at this price, so it was really tempting. Loads of people did videos on it. Yourself, you did a couple of videos on it, and I watched Jade's coverage of it as well. Did seem really cool. Seemed like it would do everything that you would ever want to ever do on your iPad. I just kind of dithered a bit because it was 50 quid, and then it went back up to 80 quid, and then I definitely wasn't buying it at 80 quid. But now it's reduced again, and I wanted, because you have got quite a lot of experience with it, and because it has got quite a lot of hype behind it, I just wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth, as it were. Is it as good as everybody says it is? Will it replace all of my other apps on my iPad?
That's really the golden question. Golden question? That's the question I think that everyone's been asking about this. And yeah, I can't hand on heart say that, and I think a lot of people did this when it first came out. I know that Jade had this experience and I did as well, is a lot of people just grabbed it and went, excellent, goodbye every other plugin I've ever purchased and ever used on iOS, because this is going to do everything. And technically it does, until you work out that sometimes you can be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I think, without being harsh, because I think it's actually a great app. I think if you are considering buying a bunch of compressors, a bunch of reverbs, a bunch of different effects plugins anyway, then this is a good way to go. And the really good things about this is, as you sort of saw over here, it's got a bunch of different sorts of things that you don't have. So you've got a spring reverb, you've got like an 1176 compressor, you've got like the LA2A compressor. Like there's a lot of emulated hardware in here that is based on the original hardware. And I think the other cool thing is it just looks cool. Like, I know that looks also aren't everything, but if you have a look at these screenshots here, we've gone to black, but you can see here that, like,
Ooh la la.
the knobs, like, I know you love to twiddle a knob, Patrick, and I know many people in the audience here love their knobs, and look at all those knobs and dials and cool meters.
Look at all those knobs indeed, Pete, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of people say, look at those two knobs right now. But yeah, it's just, again, having that black 76 there. I know it's hard to stay serious, but it shouldn't be, because music should be fun. But anyway, but yeah, you can easily quickly dial in here, and like to have an 1176 compressor right there with your attack release, your ratio, looking like an actual piece of kit, that can actually help you, because sometimes the creativity that comes in music is not just about the sound, it's about the user interface and actually interacting with something. So that, I think, is really cool.
All right.
There's things that it doesn't have. So it doesn't have a and I don't think it has been updated yet, but one of the big things for guitarists in particular is it doesn't have a noise gate. So I would still always play through a noise gate, and it was a weird one. I think everyone who reviewed it said, this has got them amazing stuff, and then they went to the distorted guitar effects and were like, oh, there's no noise gate. Okay, I have to quickly go and grab another one. So that was a little bit missing, and early on, they're fixed now, but they had some teething problems. So I know Jay discovered these early on, that if you had a particular type of track and then you put one on, it would do that fun thing in especially GarageBand where it would actually just cut out your audio and weren't able to use it. That has been fixed. So if you're running iOS 14, then it will be working. The other, I guess, caveat here is if you start layering up this on a bunch of tracks, it's going to use a lot of processing power.
Right, yeah.
So if you're considering,
I had, yeah.
There you go. So if you've got, on my iPad Pro 2020, it's really no problem. It crushes it and it does well. I've tested it out by using it on my iPhone 6S and on my iPad Air 2, and it does start to get a bit clunky pretty quickly. So if you start putting up multiple instances, and that's the thing, you got to think that, you can. The good thing is you can put one instance and then have up to 8 plugins on each track without having multiple instances of the plugin. So that really helps out. But still, if you're getting to 8, 16, 32 tracks and you're using it for everything, you can end up using more processing. And if you say sorry.
So like you'll have 4 plug-in slots on any track in GarageBand. You can use one of these kind of rack instances in one slot, and it only takes up one slot. Right.
Which is probably its killer feature, to be honest. So that is the good. So you can see here that in this example, there's 5 plugins. So you can have your tape cassette, your low frequency filter, your speaker emulation there, and then your Black 76, and then room for like 4 more plugins, and it's only taking up 1 slot. So especially for guitars in GarageBand, which for whatever reason, the guitar amps in GarageBand, they decided to only have 2 plugin slots. Yeah. You can now get 16 plugins on those 2 slots if you wanted to use this instead. So yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, I'm still on the fence today. If we look at, Jade's got the link there. So I'm still on the fence as far as recommending it going. I'm probably like, so Pete, do I buy it or not? I know people just want the one-word answer of like yes or no. I think it is good, but it's not going to replace everything. And I think that's the key thing that I would say here is that if you just want to EQ something, still chuck LRC5 on there, because that is going to use so much less processing power than this. And if you just want a really nice high-quality reverb, then just use the Black Hole or something like that. A standalone plugin that's going to cost a lot less than this is still going to be the better option a lot of the time. But for someone starting out, if someone just bought GarageBand and they said, I got $50, £50 to spend right now, what's my best bang for buck of buying apps? It would be this. Right. Because you get something of everything. And that way you don't have to go buy a tape cassette emulation. You don't have to buy a saturation plugin. You don't have to buy reverbs or delays or anything else. You will have to get yourself a noise gate. But apart from that, everything else is built there. So, yeah, there you go. So that was probably a terrible job of convincing you, Patrick. Have I convinced you to part with your hard-earned?
It was a good overview, yeah. I think the 2 main things I was kind of interested in were, does it massively expand your plug-in slots, which it does? So would you say that is it worth £50, or is it worth £80, or is it worth neither?
It is worth the $50, £50, on its sale price. If you are going to buy it, don't hesitate because it will go back up again. And I wouldn't, as much as I love IK, look, they gave me a copy, by the way, full disclosure. IK gave me a copy of this. So when I say, would I spend money? And people are like, Pete, you got it for free. I'm like, yeah, no. But would I spend money? I'm still not going to tell you. And I don't benefit from whether you buy it or don't buy it either. So, I think that at that $50 price point of £50, it is great value. I think the £80 might be a little bit too pricey for it, and I probably wouldn't pay that. So, yeah, that's there you go. And if it was 30 or 40, this is the thing. Like I did mention this at the time to IK. I'm like, if they could use this as an absolute sort of not even a loss leader, but they could make up on volume. If they sold this for 30, I think everyone would have a copy. I would we wouldn't even be having this discussion because for 30 or even 40, I think everyone just needs to buy it and needs to have it in their collection because it's so useful for a lot of things. So. Yes, we will see. All right, cool. Now, we're not going to actually demonstrate any other apps here because right after this, we have Jade Stars. So she's actually usually doing a live show, but she's taking a look at a Nembrini amp. Now, do you use any of the Nembrini stuff, Patrick?
Yeah. The free stuff is all absolutely fantastic. A couple of the free amps as well. Specifically, the model of an 808,
Yes.
8080?
Yeah,
8080?
8080, yeah, I don't know how to say
that's
that.
the one, yeah. The best kind of hard tone you can get in any guitar sim ever, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I've realised I've got I'm searching up here and I realised I still had that showing. But yeah, so you've got, so here's all the different Nembrini apps. Why am I in giant mode? I'm in old man that can't see. So yeah, you've got a bunch of stuff in here. And the other good thing is that if you're starting out with Nembrini apps, there's free stuff. So they're actually really smart as far as an app developer goes, because the Crunk V2 is an amazing amp for free. I know people that have used that on actual songs, but have used that as their standalone amp tone, and it sounds amazing. Yeah. And as I talked about with MixBox, if you're getting MixBox, you need to get this, the Analog Rack Noise Gate. It's free, and this is the best noise gate on iOS. It's only got 2 knobs, but it's got the threshold and it's got the actual amount that you're actually going to do there. What is it called? The range. So unlike most, like the standard Apple Noise Gate is crap because you turn it on and it does that cutting in and out. It can only be off or on, which I guess is kind of a gate. Like that's traditionally a gate, but this noise gate, you can say when you hit that threshold of noise, don't turn it to 0. Turn it down. So if you're getting screeching guitars and things, it won't make it completely blank. It'll just take it down a little notch. So yeah, all the Nembrini stuff is really good. And as we showed you here, Jade is looking at Thrash Till Death, a metal amp sim. So the MRH 810, the lead series from Nembrini. So that video is premiering in 3 minutes time. In fact, I'll do everyone a solid. We'll copy this and we'll paste it right here in the chat. So when we're done here, once Patrick and I have signed off and finished ranting, you can jump straight over and check out Jade. And see, this is how lazy I am. I got the tip of the week to just be one of your videos. I got the app of the week to just be something that Jade's doing anyway. I'm seriously just a desperately lazy man. So
at least you're honest. True that.
So we are going to finish off there. Where can folks go to check out the amazing work that Patrick does on his G-Band Guide channel?
The gbandguide.com, the garagebandguide.com would be the best place to start. Yeah, absolutely. Come over and say hi.
Very nice. Very nice indeed. So yeah, we're going to finish off there, but we did want to say thank you for everyone. If you're watching on the replay and you did have any questions or comments, Patrick and I will be down there answering any of those throughout the next day or two. So don't worry if you weren't here live to ask your really difficult question to Patrick. You can go ahead and do that in the comments as well, right? Phew. Hope you had fun. If you did get some value, please hit the like button. And please do go over to Patrick's channel, the GarageBandGuide.com. Subscribe on YouTube for all of the fun and frivolity that you'll get over there. On behalf of my co-host Patrick here, please be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. And keep creating in G-Band. I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.